Welcome to Managing Imports with Python's dunder all. My name's Joseph, and I'll be your instructor for this video course. Importing objects is one of the first things you learn as a Python developer. It lets you bring in code from other files to use in your programs, and it's an essential part of building software. You might even know Python has a few different ways of importing objects, and one in particular, the wildcard import, lets you import everything from a package or module. Right? That's what I used to think, but that's not quite right. In fact, the behavior of wildcard imports is a little more nuanced than that. It doesn't actually import everything. It varies between packages and modules, and there's actually a special variable you can use to control its behavior further. Want to take a guess? Well, yeah, it's in the title, dunder all. And just in case this is the first time you're hearing the word dunder, you're not mishearing me. It's a contraction of double underscore, a common Python naming convention used for variables and methods with special meaning. For example, underscore underscore spam underscore underscore would be read as dunder spam. With that cleared up, what can you expect to learn in this course? The way wildcard imports work in Python, some of the differences between wildcard imports and explicit imports, how dunder all affects imports in modules versus packages, when you should use dunder all to customize import behavior, and some of the common use cases and best practices of using dunder all. As for prerequisites, you should be familiar with Python fundamentals, such as variables, functions, built-in data structures, and importantly, the concept of organizing code into modules and packages. If that concept is still pretty new to you, check out the course in our Python Basics series on modules and packages. And in our next lesson, a review of how Python imports work. See you there. Why do we need imports anyway? In modern software development, it's unfeasible to build an application in a single file. Instead, programs are built from many pieces of code. One application can span dozens, hundreds, even thousands of files. Projects become complex, often depending on many external libraries. By writing code in one place and running it elsewhere, you can reuse existing code to avoid duplication. And with all of this internal and external code used and reused in multiple locations, imports provide a standardized way to locate and load code. In Python, the import system is just that. It gives you access to code outside the current file. Using the built-in import statement, you can import code from the Python standard library, bundled with Python, or from third-party packages installed on your system, or even from your own project files. You can break down Python imports into two main strategies. Explicit imports, where you import specific modules or objects by name, and wildcard imports, which by default import all public names from a module. More on that later. First, let's look at explicit imports. You can use an explicit import when you want to access a module or its contents by name. The basic syntax is import module with an optional as alias, which imports the module into the current namespace, the collection of named objects available to your code. It only works if the module is available on Python's import path, essentially checking if the module is in the working directory, installed as a third-party library, or is in the Python standard library. And an optional alias can be provided, which is good for avoiding name collisions with other code objects in your file, or even just simplifying the name of the module you're importing. There are a few variants on this syntax. Import module, bringing the module's name directly into your file's namespace. Import module as alias, bringing it in under the alias you provide. From module import name is used to import specific names from the module. And from module import name as alias allows you to alias or rename a specific name you're importing. If you really want to dive deep into imports, import syntax, name resolution, and many more topics beyond the scope of this course, have a read through Python Import, Advanced Techniques and Tips. Now let's take a look at a couple quick examples of imports in practice. Here we have a module, calculations.py, which you can find in the course resources. It has a few basic math operations, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. All totally unnecessary given Python provides them, but it works for a demo. Open up a REPL session and make sure you're in the same directory as calculations.py. You can examine the names in the current global namespace by calling the built-in dir function. You'll see a bunch of dunder attributes, all standard stuff. So when you import calculations and call dir again, there you see at the end, calculations is added. To use the functions defined in calculations, you can use dot notation, like calculations.add 67 returns 13. And calculations.multiply 67 returns 42. Since calculations is a lot to type, you could also use an alias. Clear? Import calculations as calc. And it behaves just the same. Calc.subtract 27 returns 13, as you'd expect. And say you don't need the whole module. You can also import a single object. From calculations, import divide, which becomes available directly. Divide 871 by 67, which also returns 13. How about that? And for our purposes, that's all you need to know about explicit imports. Next up, let's talk about wildcard imports. So what are wildcard imports? Wildcard imports bring in all public names from a module. The syntax is from module import star. This imports every public name from a module into the current namespace. It uses an asterisk or star as a wildcard, and it's useful when you need everything a module provides, which is not really that often. Wildcard imports are rarely recommended in real projects and are actually discouraged by official Python-style guidelines, since, if you're not careful, you can end up inadvertently dumping a bunch of unneeded names into your namespace. That being said, no recommendation applies in all cases, and there are even libraries out there designed to be imported this way. So, given all of this, you can also expect some users of your packages and modules are probably going to use wildcard imports too. So how can you control what's actually imported? The first step is to look at the term public. Since you can't actually designate code objects as private in Python, Python uses naming conventions to distinguish your intent. Names starting with a single underscore are treated as internal to a module, class, or function. So public names look like foo or spam, while non-public names look like underscore bar and underscore ham. But the important thing is, wildcard imports will not include any of these non-public names. As a side note, Python has a long history of using underscores this way. To learn more, check out single and double underscores in Python names. Now let's take a look at wildcard imports in action. Back in the IDE, we have the calculations module from the last lesson, but it looks a little different now. We've added a function called circumference, which also uses the constant pi, which has to be imported from the math module. So open the REPL and try a wildcard import. From calculations, import star. And call dir. Okay, you see all 5 functions have been imported. But so has pi. Weird, but because it's imported at the top level, it's also public. See how quickly the namespace can become cluttered unintentionally? To prevent this, you'll need to update calculations.py. Close the REPL for now. Use an alias to import pi as underscore pi. And don't forget to change the name in the circumference function. And just for fun, why don't we also make add non-public? Underscore add. Hit save. Open the REPL again. And try the wildcard import once more. From calculations, import star. Run dir. And now only circumference, divide, multiply, and subtract appear. Because they're considered private, add and pi are no longer imported. Okay, perfect. I guess now all you have to do in the future is add underscores to everything you think shouldn't be imported. Not quite. That will work for small modules or scripts, but it becomes unwieldy about as quickly as you'd expect. If only there were a way to designate all the objects that should be imported. Learn more in the next lesson.